Okay, I think we are live. Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. My name is Amina, and this is Experiencing Fragrances with Amina. As you can see, this is another installment of Getting to Know Joe, and we're here with Oswald Paré from Motif Olfactif. So let's welcome Oswald, Mr. Oz, aka Mr. Oz,
Yeah.
to the channel. I see Tara is here. That is good. Okay, this is muted. Let me just make sure. Hi, Tara. I hope you are well. Let's see. Do I want to wait a bit before we start? Chad is also here. We can wait just a few
Hey,
minutes.
Chad. I'm
Hi,
trying to
Chad.
find the thing here. Okay, thank you.
I hope you guys are doing well. What are you guys wearing tonight? Okay, good. Yeah, we'll just give it a few more minutes and then we can
All right, here we go
go
now.
ahead and start. Yeah. Ooh, and if you guys are drinking something, what are you drinking?
Bagler is here too.
Bryce, how's it going? Oh, you're wearing Ganymede. I've heard a lot about that one.
Yeah.
That one's really is hyped up right now. I don't know why I feel the need to type in the chat and I forget that they can hear me.
Oh, they can hear you.
Oh, nice. That's really good.
Chad, are you testing the perfume or extract version? Oh,
This is a stress test. All three blacklisted perfumes. Wow. Okay. So I think we can go ahead and get started now. It's been what, about 2 minutes? So yeah, let's go ahead and get it started. So yeah, so what are you drinking tonight, Ozzy? Or
well,
Mr. Oz? I don't know why I called you.
We're supposed to get coffee, right?
Yeah.
But if I get coffee, I don't think I'll be able to go to bed. So I
totally
don't drink
understand.
usually, but sometime I would drink liquor for the smell. So I'm drinking something that is called Makir Bay by Kilhoman. And then the reason why I like this one, I can't drink, like I said, I don't drink that much. If I drink too much, I don't think you have me on this one here. But, essentially, this one I like it because it has sea salt, like a oceanic vibe attached to it, with some citrusy, lemony peel, and then
Nice.
the backbone towards the end of the sip, you also have something that is mineral-like. So it kind of reminds me of how perfume is sometimes composed.
Yeah.
So you can get different flavors when you're smelling it, but also when you're tasting it. The part that I like about this one is a salty mineral finish.
That's pretty cool. I never thought to think of things like that when it comes to liquor. So that's really interesting. I guess that's the perfumer in you kind of coming out.
Exploring, I guess, yeah. What are you drinking?
I am drinking old-fashioned black coffee. No sugar, no cream, just black. So very simple.
I guess I should ask though, the coffee doesn't have a big impact on your...
Not really. I think I enjoy sleeping, right? So I feel like nothing can keep me from sleeping. If I'm in the dark, I'm tired, or like I just feel cozy, I'm cuddled in my blanket, I'll be out like that. So
oh, wow.
I really have no problem. I don't know what it is, and I don't want to jinx myself because I like to drink coffee any time of the day. So yeah, I feel like I'm lucky in that sense, but I don't want to jinx myself. Hopefully I don't stay wired. Hi, Rob. Welcome. Hi, Nats. It's good to see you guys here. Okay. So I wanted to also ask you, what are you wearing today? What's your scent of the night?
So when I tend to create stuff, it's hard for me to wear my collection. So right now I'm just testing something that I'm making. Is the first iteration. Is around tuberose, leather, and animalic. So today I was just wearing it to see what is working and what is not working.
Okay, so this is your creation, something you're working on.
Yes, yep. I bet Chad can have the same feeling too. Typically, when you get into this mode where you're creating, you're testing, it's really hard to wear something else. But it's really good sometimes to take a break and then just from formulating and testing stuff, and then wear something different and then go back to it.
Okay, well, I heard tuberose, I heard animalics, I heard leather.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued, so that should be exciting. But we'll get to that later. I think I do have a question regarding future plans or future releases.
Right.
But firstly, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate you taking the time. There's a few things I want to, of course, discuss tonight. And it's going to include just your journey from you becoming a perfumer or to you becoming a perfumer from being a YouTuber, which a lot of us, I think, in the chat can relate because a lot of us do have YouTube channels.
Oh, yeah.
And I also want to talk a little bit about your brand as a whole, Motif Olfactif, and also about your 2 new creations that just came out a couple weeks ago. So before we do that, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your fragrance brand, Motif Olfactif?
Okay, I'll try to be as brief as possible. Well, so the whole idea started from my YouTube journey. Even before that, when I was a kid, it was mostly my mom wearing heavy, loud fragrances. And then the most memorable times with her was when at the end of the year, we'll have a party where we invite other people. I was still young and stuff like that. I would dance with my mom, and then I will have her perfume on me. Wake up the next morning, I'm still smelling it. For a while, I didn't wear perfume myself. My dad wore a couple of perfumes, but nothing that really sticks out. It was mostly my mom. Then I moved to the US in 2009. And then I met a friend that actually introduced me to fragrances. And the first one that he introduced me to was Lacoste Energy, I believe.
Okay, yeah.
Bright, citrusy, lemony type of fragrance. And then after that, it was Terre d'Hermès.
Okay.
I wore those for like 5 years. Terre d'Hermès was like 3 years. And then I tried to find a different scent to wear. And that's where I found YouTube. And then people talking about fragrances. It was awkward. But then I kept going back to it, trying to find something interesting, because the first time that I actually tried to find a different scent from the Lacoste Energy and then Terre d'Hermès, I had a really bad experience. I went to the mall, picked something, and then sprayed it on my skin. I smelled like seaweed the whole time, and it was really acrid on my skin. And then from that, I was kind of traumatized. So I went back to Terre d'Hermès and then Lacoste for a while.
Okay.
Then I went back to YouTube and I started looking for, okay, why does smell behave differently on skin, things like that.
Okay.
The more I started collecting, I decided, well, why not review them? And I started reviewing them. And then gradually, just as a natural progression, I kind of got curious about the notes. So you look at the note pyramid, and then you see the notes, and then you wonder, okay, what do they really smell like?
Right.
You have no idea. You can Google and then find a note, the description, but it's from a different person's perspective. When somebody says it's sweet and is animalic, is what level of sweetness? Maybe a bit sweetness, something that is like really decadent and things like that. So I don't have a really good point of reference when I'm reading the description. So I started buying oils. So of course, not knowing much, you buy oils from anywhere. So I bought a bunch of crap. And then later on, as I got into the forums and things like that, then I found like the really good sources for small brands or people that just want a small quantity. So it's Perfumer's Apprentice, Perfume Supply House, Eden Botanical, White Lotus Aromatics, sources like that. Perfume.com as well. And then I received those, and then I was kind of trying to link, okay, I'm smelling tonka. Can I smell it in this fragrance? Is it prominent? And things like that. And over time, for the first few years, I didn't get the courage. I wasn't even thinking about blending things together.
Okay.
I was just smelling just to help me through the reviews and stuff like that. And I read a book, the Jean Carl's Method, which breaks it down, like the whole, at least a good introduction to perfuming, breaks down slowly and then how you should merge scents together
Okay.
And then you go through several trials until you find a balance between two notes. Then you add more, and then you do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
That works in theory, but once you start using it, using your materials and stuff like that, and then you're replicating experiments in different proportions, you run out of materials really quickly. So you have to find
Okay.
a different way. So the best way for me then, the best advice that I got was when you receive a material, study it from top to bottom, make notes,
Okay.
how it evolves, how long it lasts. And then when you're composing, you'll be able to know how it will behave in relation to another ingredient.
Okay.
You have a ballpark idea, and then you refine it from there.
Okay.
So I started adding things together, reading blogs and stuff like that. Then I got to the point where I started making blends that are simple, a couple of ingredients in it, and then more complex, to the point where I got some type of validation that I should release it. I talked to another perfumer, and then the advice was, yeah, if you feel like you're ready, then go ahead
Mm.
and do that. And that's
Okay.
how I started it.
Okay. Okay. That's really interesting. But at what point in that whole timeline did you decide to start a YouTube channel?
So yeah, so the YouTube channel is essentially a curiosity of finding a new scent.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it was just a curiosity of finding a new scent. Stumble upon Robes '08, and then my Makers. Unfortunately, we don't have them anymore. And then some of the OG fragrance bros,
Mm-hmm.
and then watched those. And then as I was buying and accumulating a lot of fragrances, and my collection grew, I decided to just share my thoughts on them, and that's how
Got
I
it.
started the channel.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I think that's probably a lot of us in YouTube, we have this huge collection and we have all these different kinds of fragrances. And I'm guessing you building your collection also kind of, I guess, played or acted as a really good reference for you to kind of build your knowledge and your experience and just refine your perfuming, I guess. So would you say that? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I will have to agree with that. To
Yeah.
some degree, it gives you a point of reference of what is out there, how things are composed, interesting combinations, what is unique or not, traditional styles or fragrance families and stuff like that.
Hmm.
It did give me that perspective, but then to leap from that to actually start blending, that's quite a leap there. If you don't have I would say, the curiosity, stamina, and
Yeah,
patience,
the drive.
yeah,
Yeah.
then you will get to a point where you just stop. Because and then actually, it does require a lot of investment to time and then money. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I can
but
imagine. I can
that's
imagine.
to explore what is already out there.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I do have a question regarding your creative process. I know with art, different people have different ways of creating their work, whether it's a piece of music or a painting or even fragrance. Do you
Mhm.
have a particular process or do you kind of just create on the fly when things come to you?
Is I would say is mostly on the fly, depending on the inspiration. So it can vary from I received a new material and I love it. I never smelled it. I love it, and then I try to build something around it.
Hmm.
To traveling, for example, and then wanting to capture that. I think part of the reason is from starting my YouTube channel and then getting used to scents and stuff like that. What happened over time is I kind of pay attention to smells around me. So
Yeah.
when I
Okay.
travel, I go places, is something extra that I take in. And then sometimes it's just an inspiration from a travel that I
Hmm.
get. And then, okay, I try to then, okay, what did I smell there? What do I remember exactly? And I write notes in detail. Then I try to find materials that can capture that.
Right. Right.
So it's just
Okay.
more to apply.
Yeah. Yeah. I think usually things that are creative are usually best done when they're on the fly because you
Mhm.
take inspiration from everything around you.
Yeah.
And instead of, if you're calculating it, then it doesn't seem as, what's the word I'm looking for, as freeing and as creative because you're kind of calculated with it. And I think it kind of takes away from it
Mhm.
being so special.
Yeah, that and then a level of attachment to the idea. When
Right.
it's calculated, at least for me, I'll feel like is emotional distant from it versus embracing
Got
what
it.
I'm trying to create and go with it. Then it
Yeah.
has meaning at least for me.
Right, right. Oh, I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
We have a question from Nat. Let me see if I can pull it up. She said, "Where are you from? Where is Oz from?"
Oh, yep. Okay, so I'm from Burkina Faso, which is a French-speaking country in West Africa.
West Africa in the house. My
Yeah.
parents are from Guinea and Mali, and those two countries are also French-speaking countries.
Okay, I
I
want
don't
to
speak French
ask you.
though, but
Yeah, your last name, I knew it was Mali.
yeah.
I spent 2 weeks when I was a kid there, and then on my way to Senegal.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So it's pretty
That's really
fun.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
I know my last name is very typical Malian. So
yeah,
if people
yeah,
see my last name and they already know that I'm from Mali.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so the next question I had was I don't know if the guys who are on here are familiar with your packaging, but I have this here that I ordered part of the new collection, Huaka'i. But the sleeve on the boxes have like a color scheme that represents the notes that are in the fragrance itself. I believe I saw you
Yeah,
say
yeah,
it one
yeah.
day.
Just a visual representation. Yeah,
Yeah, which I think is really cool. But I want to know, I know some people can, when they smell a fragrance, they see color or
yeah,
see
yeah.
shapes. So is that how you interpret fragrance? Do you interpret it by color?
Yeah. So color, texture, so to some degree tones as well. So
Okay.
essentially, that's how I start when I started my fragrance journey, and I didn't know anything about the notes and stuff like that. That's how I was able to interpret it. So I
Mm,
would smell it, and the first time it's like, is it sharp? Is it smooth?
right.
Is it rugged? Right? And then is it cold? Is it warm?
Yeah.
And then you go to textures and things like that. So, and then some notes for me, I visualize them in colors. I don't know if it's weird,
Yeah.
but I think a lot of people do too. And then hence also the name Motif Olfactif is it was a combination of that, the way I experienced scents, and then the way I wanted to tie like the sense of smell to something that
Mhm.
visual as well.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think for me, I don't think I don't have that sense of, relating the scent to a color or specific, colors. But for me, I tend to think of shapes, whether it's sharp or round,
Yeah.
then I will picture either a square or a circle or an oval, but just very, very one-dimensional, nothing too
That's
crazy.
pretty cool though. Yeah.
Um, yeah, but I remember I took a course with Anima Vinci. It's a perfume
Yeah.
brand
Hmm.
during it was kind of like in the middle of lockdown before I moved. So I used to be located in Scotland and I recently moved to the US a couple weeks or a few weeks ago. Yeah.
Okay.
So when we were in lockdown, I got really bored. They were offering this course. So I signed up for it. They sent me some samples and some raw materials, which was really cool. And they kind of were encouraging us to relate these raw materials that we were smelling to colors, shapes. And that's when I realized, like, oh, so this is really a thing. And
Hmm.
it could be a way that you can really interpret a fragrance and to describe it as well so
Yeah.
that others can understand it.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think that's really cool. So yes, so I said earlier about your new fragrances. I only have a full bottle of Huaka'i, which is
Thank you.
lovely. I've
Worth
been
it.
wearing this fragrance. I mean, I don't know if you can tell, but
Yeah,
I
that's
just
quite a
got
lot.
this not that long ago. I've
Yeah,
been
I
wearing it
know,
for a while.
right? And it's
Yeah,
pretty strong too. So thanks.
it's strong. And I'm an oversprayer, so this stuff tends to last on me a long time. But the other one is Huaka'i. How do you say
Yeah,
it?
Huaka'i. Yep.
Hawaii. Yeah, so those two fragrances were inspired by a trip that you took with your wife to Hawaii, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, can you tell us a little bit about the two fragrances and also what you wish to accomplish with the release?
Oh, with this release, yeah.
Yes,
So
with this one and Huakai.
yep. So essentially, yeah. So that those two were inspired by the trip that we took to Hawaii, Maui. I love hiking. So that's what I planned. But of course, I was with my wife, so we had to compromise. So her
Right.
favorite thing is the beach and then relaxing. So most of the time when we're there in the morning, we'll get up, we'll go find a hiking area, and then we do that for a couple of hours. Then we come back, and then on our way back, we'll stop by the food market or local market. We grab a few things, and then before we go to the hotel, we go to the beach to just relax. And then after that, we go to the hotel. So when we got back, for me during the hikes, like the forest that was there or the places that I went to hiking were so dense, humid. So I got a lot of smells. So
Yeah,
from
I can imagine.
roots
Yeah.
to sun warm, humid, slightly cold sometime,
Yeah.
green. Went through a bamboo forest, riverbeds and stuff like that. So for me, when I came back, I wanted to capture that, and I started thinking about, okay, what notes can I use to do that?
Hmm.
And then at the same time, my wife was there with me, right? So I decided to ask her, okay, what would you like to capture in a bottle from our trip? And then she
Hmm.
said, okay, vacation. All she's thinking about is vacation,
Right.
things that tea, coconuts, and then things like that. So she started with a brief. It was just a brief discussion, and then I asked her to write something down. Um, it could be anything. Just
Hmm.
write anything down, what you want, ideas, what you love, and then we'll review that together. So while I was developing mine, I was going through a course and trying to see what ingredients can help me achieve that. Because I've studied most of the materials that went into that fragrance, it didn't take me that long to
Okay.
be able to put together the first frame. But then the problem was then refining it over time.
Right.
And
Yeah.
every time I did an iteration in my head, I was like, okay, I have this amount of oud that I have to be careful about because if it's gone, I'm not going to be able to make more. Um,
Right.
so I had to really take my time and then write on paper, pay attention to the notes, and then what could go wrong
Hmm.
before I compose. And
Okay.
then I met with my wife and then went through her brief, refine, ask some clarification questions and stuff like that. And then I did the first draft, and then she said, "No, it's too fruity."
Okay.
But, yeah, okay. And then I went to the second iteration. I did a lot of iterations before we got to the point where she was like, "Okay, this is the one." And I was like,
Okay.
"Are you sure?" And then she was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay, let's try to wear it, and then I would leave it at the desk, and then we'll see how many times you wear it, and then we'll decide if that's the final version." And then
Okay.
she kept wearing it and wearing and wearing. The funny thing is, she wakes up really early in the morning for work, and then she will spray it as strong, and
Hmm.
that's what wakes me up in the morning. And I don't have to wake up like 2 hours, like for the
Not as
next hour.
early.
Yeah, exactly. And then that was my way of keeping count of how many times she was wearing it, just to keep me honest and stuff like that. So when I felt like that was ready and then mine was ready, I released it. And then the idea was just to share my perception of that trip.
Okay.
Huaka'i was more so not just the environment in which I was, but the internal battle too that I was going through. So hiking, physically exhausted, but
Hmm.
also having that sense of clarity in the end after doing some introspection, being away from the city, not thinking about
Yeah.
your duties and stuff like that. The kids were with the grandparents, so that was we had a peace of mind there. It was
Right.
just us taking time off. So in that fragrance, I kind of built that so that in the dry down there was something that was kind of suiting with the sandalwood. There's a spicy sandalwood in the dry down there, so that
Hmm.
was the idea there.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
just released it to see what people would think of it, if it will remind them of like a tropical vacation. And then so far, the feedback that I've received is, yeah, so Makai does remind me of a beachy type of
Absolutely.
fragrance. And
Hmm.
then Huaka'i is kind of a twist on something that is dense, earthy, dirty, with some oud, earthy feelings attached to it. So based on the feedback, I guess I'm happy because it feels like I've achieved what I wanted to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I would have to agree. After wearing Makai, a few times, I felt like I've never been to Hawaii, but I feel like you did capture the essence of what I think Hawaii is like in here.
Okay.
And I'm not a huge fan of super fruity fragrances. So I'm really happy that
That
you
different
said your
world.
wife was like, no, that's too fruity because
Yeah, yeah.
I like fruit, but only just in moderate amounts, as long as it has some dimension and some depth. Because to me, I feel like they can be kind of one-dimensional sometimes. But Huaka'i, that fragrance, oh my goodness. I wrote about it on my Instagram. That one, I wasn't expecting what I got from it, and it triggered a very specific memory to me. That has nothing to do with Hawaii. It's something very personal. And I even had my mom smell it, trying to see if she can get, like, Mom, like, smell this. Does this remind you of this? And to her, she's like, kind of. But to me, when I smelled it, it just took me back to that specific memory, which I really did appreciate. Although that's maybe not what your goal was for the fragrance, but
everybody, we experience scent differently. Right. If it can trigger something that is good, that's a good thing, I guess. Yeah.
So I see we have a few more people that came on. We have the Udu Pantograph. Hello. We have Hood Sense. Welcome. He's patiently waiting for Mon Oasis. So am I. We're in the same boat here. I know you said the rest of your fragrances are going to be re-released on November 1st.
Yes. Yep.
Yes. Okay. Well, my calendar is marked. I'm waiting for that. Anjali is also here. Hi.
Hey,
welcome. Also, Tara says that she likes fruit as long as it's black. We know that you're obsessed with blackcurrant. Tara, she loves that. Okay, so let's move on. This is a question that it's a personal question, I guess, for me, because we're both of African descent. And I know our family and our parents they influence a lot of what we do as far as what kind of profession we decide to pursue and all of that. And usually professions that are involved in arts aren't really encouraged. So I wanted to know, like, how do your parents or your family feel about you doing something like being a perfumer and owning your own fragrance brand?
Yep. So it's funny that you said that. That is really typical for our culture to do that. I was supposed to be an accountant, and then I kind of rebelled, and then went for information systems and computer science. That was a huge fight, but we got to the point where we're okay with it because it ended up being a good decision. I had to stand my ground there. But when it comes to creative stuff, yes, most families in our culture definitely don't encourage it because it's hard to earn a living, at least in developing countries, right? In developed countries is a different story, so it's easy to encourage somebody to explore those avenues. But for me, though, when I was a kid, the funny thing is when I'll get an allowance, I will go get some textile.
Okay.
And then design and take it to the seamstress to kind of sew for me. So they knew I kind of had something weird going on. And then because I wasn't taken away from something else and I was using something that was allocated to me directly instead of buying candy or whatever, I was using it for something specific that I really enjoyed. They kind of let me run with it. So and then I got busy with work and stuff like that, and I didn't do much of anything that was really creative. And then recently when I launched my brand, I didn't tell anybody.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to hear about it. They knew I still had my job and stuff like that, but I just wanted to take my time and then not have any pressure and not have any date in mind when I'm going to release anything. I just take my time when I'm ready and I release it. So I did my first release, and then I visited them right after that. I think we did, was it November 16th? That was the first launch. And then I went to visit them. They live in Canada, Montreal.
Okay.
So I went to visit them for Christmas, and then I told them that. And then it didn't surprise them. Funny enough. And then the first question they asked was like, where are the samples?
I know, like, can we smell?
I told them I didn't bring any. So we had a little fight there. And then when I got back, I sent them some samples.
Yeah.
Then my sister was like, okay, I need to order some. I was like, no, I don't want your orders. I can send you a bottle and things like that. Right. But for them, I don't think it came as a surprise, especially when I didn't tell them, okay, I'm quitting my job. and I'm working on this. They thought it was a really good thing. And then for me, the way it started was not even to start a brand. It was for me to be able to just hide somewhere
Okay.
and then have this long time to kind of recharge. Being an introvert is hard for me to be around people all the time. With the work that I do, I talk to a lot of people
Mhm.
all the time, and then I get a little time to myself. So
Yeah.
from work, I come home. I have two kids that are like they're full of energy. I mean, nonstop. You think that they will get them tired at daycare, but nope. They come home and then they're ready to still continue.
Still ready
So
to
I'll
go.
stay with them, and then after they're in bed, I'll talk to my wife for a little bit, and then she'll go to bed, and I'll go to the lab. And then that was my
Okay.
way, because if I go to bed, there's just too much that
Yeah,
I'm thinking about.
you have to wind down. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
Mhm.
So I just go to the lab, and then at that time it wasn't in the lab; it's just a table and then few ingredients, and I would just smell them, study, and stuff like that. So it was my way to kind of unwind, like you said. So they understood that it was a reason why it got started, and eventually, well, if you think that you're getting to the point where you can commercialize it, why not?
Right.
So they were
Yeah,
okay
exactly.
with that, but
Yeah.
it's not something. If I was back home and I was trying to do that, it's not something that they would support or that
Right.
would be really easy to do if I didn't have like a main job to support my family and myself. Because I
Right.
mean that's their primary concern, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
In our environment. But when you move away from that, then you're at a place where there's a lot more opportunities,
Mhm.
and it is um, a career that is sustainable. Then yeah, they're
Yeah.
more likely to let you do that. Some
Right.
family have that prestige, how to say that, requirement. So
Yep.
regardless of what you're doing, even if it's sustainable, they want to know that their son or daughter is a doctor or whatever
Exactly.
and stuff like that. I'm a
Exactly.
lot more stubborn than that. So
I mean, same here. I saw Tara mention in the chat that she was supposed to be a pharmacist. Same
oh
here. My mom wanted me to be in the medical field so badly, but I feel like you have to be a special person to be in the medical field, and I couldn't. So she was like, "You should be a doctor." I was like, "I don't want to touch people. I don't want to, deal with bodily fluid. No, I don't want to do it."
mhm.
So then she suggested pharmacy. I said, okay. So I started going to school for pharmacy and I hated it. I hate chemistry so much. And deep down inside, I knew what I wanted to do. And I wanted to study engineering because I took engineering courses in high school. And then I just tried and tried and tried. And I eventually just kind of rebelled as well and enrolled in an engineering program without her knowing. And
Yeah,
then because she was like, oh, I mean, I guess it's the mentality, right,
yeah,
of our parents back home. But she was under the assumption that engineering is not a fit profession for a lady, and
oh,
that she knows a lot of engineers who are out of work and this and that, so it's not a good idea. Anyway,
mhm.
she came around eventually, but we do get put under that pressure sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, so you mentioned earlier that you launched last year, November 16th.
yeah, I
So it's
believe.
almost your 1 year anniversary.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah,
How exciting is that?
it is exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you expect to have as much success as you have so far? I mean, I think your stuff is sold out. I'm still waiting for a restock. It's
Yeah,
been sold out for a while.
it was really surprising. So when I launched, again, taking into account exposure, my
Mhm.
channel is not that big, and things like that. I didn't expect to have people notice the brand from the get go, but then people tried it. The exciting part is that a lot of people tried the samples and then came back later to buy a bottle, and I ended up selling out. And it took me a while to register that because typically what you do is as soon as you get halfway through it, you try to at least start ordering the materials and then start blending the batch and then let them sit, macerate, and
Mhm.
mature before they're ready for bottling. But I didn't see that coming at all. And I mean, I can't be like I can't thank anybody that was able to support me because that's what is keeping me going right now. And then
Yeah.
releasing and then doing more R&D and then trying to come up with things that are a little bit more interesting and then
Mhm.
perfecting my skill set here because there's a lot to learn.
There's levels.
So definitely a lot of positives since our launch. Really exciting, and I'm looking forward to more So
That's great. I think that's really cool. I mean, November's around the corner, and I feel like, well, at least I hope that you have many more things in the works for next year. So,
yeah, there are a few things. I just need to make sure that they're ready and then have people give feedback and stuff like that. But yeah, things will be back in stock on
okay.
November 1st with a full sample set, so people can try and then decide if it works for them. Yeah.
Yeah. So, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat and we can get them answered for you. Let's see. So was it 2 weeks ago, I had Chad on the channel, and
Oh
you
yeah.
asked a really excellent question about like what kind of advice you'd give someone who's thinking about possibly starting their career or their, dreams as a perfumer when it comes to like education and business and creativity. So I want to kind of, you know,
Yeah, it's the same
reconsider that
question.
question. Yeah, back to you. I thought it was a really good question. So yeah,
Yeah,
what advice would you give?
I would say my advice is, well, if we're starting from the beginning, if you're not sure and then you're thinking about it, I would say just jump on it, but don't go crazy.
Okay.
Order small samples. Like everybody's tempted to see a sample is like $4, and then you can double or triple that for $9. So therefore, you jump on that.
That's how they get you.
That's how they get you. And
Yeah.
then so when you're not sure, and then even as a perfumer, like you, it's better to test things in small quantities. And then if you think that is something that you need in your organ, then you can decide to get it. So I would say try to buy these and then see if you're able to sustain your curiosity. And then if you don't get too frustrated quickly and then quit. Because this is for the long run. You're not going to be from the get go. I know some people are talented and then they learn quickly, but it's not something that you just jump in and then you start mixing things together and then, hey, is amazing. And then you can just sell it. Beyond just formulating, you have to think about marketing, which right now my wife is helping me with that. So you have to know your strengths, right? And then what you want to focus on, and then bring somebody else, your significant other, family members that can help you or give you advice.
Mhm.
Um, so you have to know your strength, go into it slowly, and then as you define more, if you're ready for this and it's something that you want to do long term, then I would say take a couple of years to learn your materials, composing, and then you have forums and then
Okay.
books,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
A lot of information out there, but the key is to just try. Because early, I would say one thing that I wish I changed when I started blending things was waiting for validation from people that were more experienced before I tried something versus trying and then seeing that it didn't work and then learn from it and move quickly. A lot of time when you're new, you tend to be really cautious. You don't want to waste your materials. But by doing that and waiting for other people to validate that, then you're wasting time anyways, which is precious, I guess. So I would say it's just testing, testing, trying. And when you're ready, you can just set up. So you have to make sure that you have a license, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
A way of collecting taxes. I would say in the beginning, if you're good at accounting, bookkeeping, and then taxation, you can do it yourself at the beginning. And then over time, you can get an accountant. But I would say an accountant will be able to save you a lot of money.
Yeah. I think Chad said the same thing
Yeah,
on the chat before. Yeah.
yeah, trying to do that. Like I said, I was supposed to be an accountant. I looked at it, I did it the first time, and I was like, "This is not fun."
Yeah.
So, and then it's not that expensive. What you pay them is actually not going to compare to what you be able to save. Make sure that you're in
Exactly.
line, and then you have your ducks in a row. And then
Absolutely.
the other thing is, don't be discouraged. You're going to hear a lot of people say that, nah, you're not quite there yet, and stuff like that. But the idea is that you get better over time. If you wait until you're better, you're never going to hit that perfection there.
Right.
Right? You have to make sure that, okay, you're at a good point where you have a good basis. You have feedback from other people that tell you that you have good stuff, like real, like genuine feedback, of course.
Right. Yeah.
And then from there, over time, you develop yourself and then you refine your skill set and you go from it. I would say also to have a personality you have to make sure that you know what your brand is about and what you're trying to do. Otherwise, you tend to go different ways,
Yeah.
and then people get lost in sampling your line and trying to figure out, okay, what are you trying to do and things like that.
Hmm.
Um, so is just being able to focus on what you're trying to achieve, get feedback from other people, but don't let all the loud noises distract you, and then just
Yeah.
that. That
As
would be
Chad
my best
says,
advice.
yeah,
Yeah,
don't let the naysayers get you down.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Because when you show up the first time, people are gonna be like, "Who are you?
Exactly.
Why do you think you should be called a perfumer? Like, what are you
Right.
doing here?" It
Yeah,
can be intimidating, and stuff like that.
I can
Sometimes
imagine.
you need to listen to a point where you're getting feedback, and you have to kind of read people and understand. Okay, are they giving you advice that is poison because they don't care about your brand, or they don't care about you? They're really there to kind of undermine what you're trying to do, or it's just somebody who's just trying to give you genuine advice.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of filter through that. Sometimes it's difficult to know if the person has good intentions or not.
Yeah.
But you can tell in the tone, the way the people are writing, and then the way they move from, okay, this is not good, and this is how you can course correct, or go research on this, and it
Hmm.
might help you.
Right.
Versus just
Right.
telling you plain, okay, yep, and then that's it, and then nothing constructive out of it.
Right.
So
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good point you made. So I have just a little question here, and then I have a question that the Udo Pantograph asked, which I think is a good question. But
yeah.
how long did you spend actually practicing blending before you were comfortable enough to say, okay, I think it's 5 fragrances that you initially
Long,
released?
yep, yep.
Yeah. So how long did it take from you starting to blend until that point where you felt okay releasing those?
So, the I would say the point where I started accumulating knowledge or information was when I first started my YouTube channel, like
Okay.
a year after that, where I
Okay.
started like really getting into, okay, what does this smell like and things like that. The funny thing is that people think that is when you start blending that you're acquiring knowledge, but
That's true.
the
Yeah.
knowledge of the individual notes, because what people don't realize is a single note will have an opening, a mid, and a dry down.
Hmm.
However short or long that is depends on the ingredient, and however subtle that is depend on the ingredient. You can have like indie oud will open really barnyard and then dry down really beautifully, right? And then you have things that are really linear.
Yeah.
So studying these materials and making notes over time, when you're going to compose and start putting things together, it speeds up the process over time, because essentially you can quickly think, okay, I want to make a fragrance that smells like this. Then in your reference, then you already have notes that can fit
Right.
the description. So you
Hmm.
have a skeleton that you can start working with already.
Yeah.
And then you put it together. As you're doing that, you evaluate and then you decide, yeah, I don't want to put that, I want to put this. Then you let it sit. You forget about what you put in there. Typically, you don't even, well, at least for me, what works is not looking at the formula when I'm testing. So I wait a couple of weeks, then I go back to it and I smell it.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm not biased and saying, oh, there's oud in here. Meanwhile, it's just because I know
You
there's
know that you
oud.
put it there. Yeah.
And then somebody else that smells it without having that tie to the formula will be like, there's not enough oud in here.
Mhm.
So these steps. So I would say it started like early when I started doing YouTube stuff.
Okay.
Gradually, slowly, just studying the notes, and then a couple of years, like 2 years after I was comfortable enough, I started like blending things together, one, two, three things together.
Yeah.
Um, Made some really bad stuff. I still have them actually in
I
my
was gonna ask. Yeah, I was gonna ask. Do
yeah.
you still
I
have them?
keep those to remind myself. It's like sometimes when I'm like, oh my god,
Like, what was
what was
I
that thinking? And I thought it was a cool idea. No, it was a bad one. So I do have those as a reference and things like that. But essentially, is something that I've accumulated since then, which is a
thinking?
while back now.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So for people, just to reference your question, so for people,
Come on.
essentially, so that's pretty much it.
Okay. I lost you for
Oh, sorry.
but I'm sure everyone, I hope everyone else heard at least. But I think you're back. Okay, so here's a question. Let me try and find it again regarding oud. So she wants to know, what are your thoughts on the origin of oud and how it's used in the Western world?
What are your thoughts on the origin of Ahood? Oh, what is it? I don't see the rest of the question. Sorry.
Yeah, it's in a separate. She and then here's the second part of the
Oh, and
question.
how is it used in the Western world? Oud, Middle Eastern. In the Western world, okay, so cultural things, right? So I'm sure you're aware of it. So back home, things tend to be more vibrant, and then in your face when you think about colors, taste, and things like that. So when I came into the U.S., specifically Minnesota, I didn't like the food because I thought it was bland. There was no spices. It was really, for me, it was bad. And now it's okay. I'm getting used to it and stuff like that. So I would say in the Western world, though, I'm not sure if it's an ingredient that most people can stomach, depending on the origin, right?
Okay.
The most common association of oud is indie oud, things that have been soaked for a long time and have that pungent top note associated with animalic barnyard. But
Mm-hmm.
when you look at other types of oud, you can have ouds that are incensey, like a clean woody incensey scent profile, floral to some extent, sometimes a little citrusy and then minty as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So you go from barnyard to something that actually might smell like cedar, and you might not even know that is oud.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so in the Western world, I guess people are more inclined to something that is associated with something that is a darker wood. So something that is more tamed down,
Okay.
sweetened. So you see oud that is added with, you add tonka, vanilla to it, some leathery things, and then some fresher top notes just to ease out the bold character of oud. And I'm talking about indie oud. If you start putting expensive ouds that have that clean scent profile and with an expensive price tag attached to it, most people in the Western world will not see the value in it and then will not buy it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's more so about the exotic feel that they're getting out of it.
Okay.
Yeah, when you talk about real oud fragrances, is a totally different how to say that? I don't want to say mindset or experience. Most people think that you should experience oud on its own and not blended with other things. And
Mm-hmm.
there's some truth to that when I'm thinking about some of the like oud, like either burning chips or smelling the raw ingredient, like the single ingredient versus blending in the fragrance. It adds a beautiful tone to a fragrance, but you lose some of the subtle things that are facets that are really enjoyable when you wear it on its own.
Right, right. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I know, of course, if people, I guess most of us know that there's different I guess different scales of oud and how barnyardy or how smooth it is, if it's a wearable oud or a westernized oud.
Mhm.
Me personally, I do like ouds, but I feel like it's a note that I do need to spend a lot of time with, because just hearing you say how some ouds have citrusy nuances, I never knew that. And I find that really
It's
interesting.
really
I feel like I need
interesting.
to really hone in and learn more about oud, because
Yeah,
like
just
you said, it
that.
can go
Very,
so
yeah,
many directions.
yeah.
Oh, okay. We have a question from Mighty Strong. He says he love, or he, she, I'm not sure, says that they love oud. That what's the strongest and best in your opinion?
Jeez. What type of wood? Real oud or oud oud?
Ah,
um, so in my collection,
hi, Mighty.
the that's a really tough question. So some of the closer, if in terms of perfume, some of the closer to experiencing the raw single ingredient would be things that are coming from Areja Dore. That house, some of his oud fragrances are really well done, and then
Okay.
they're oud forward, but he embellishes them with other ingredients. So it is not completely something that is hard to digest.
Okay.
So he has a good balance attached to them. Um, Other ouds that are not real oud but potent. There's one from the house of Tiziana Terenzi that is called, is it Dube? I think Dube.
Okay, I haven't tried it. I don't have much
It's a
experience in that.
rose oud combo. They did a good job giving it a real beautiful character and something that is really close to the ouds that I know is more of, well, there's cypriol in it. So depending on
Okay.
if you like oud associated with cypriol, you might like that one or not. I tend to not like that, but in this one they did a good job blending both.
Okay.
Um, Cypriol on its own has some facets that oud sometimes has. So what they would do is you put it to a certain degree in your composition, you add cypriol to it, and then you can enhance that leathery, woody facet of oud.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I know one fragrance that I really do enjoy that has oud and cypria that I can just think off the top of my head is from Roja Dove, the United Arab Emirates.
Oh, UAE,
By
I also
the,
have that too. That's yeah. I also have that too. That's pretty good too.
yeah, I really, really enjoy that one. I think it's done very well.
Jeez, see that's what I'm talking about. So I've not worn that fragrance in a long time. I
I
would
mean,
say over a year.
wow.
Yeah, when you start accumulating fragrances as a reviewer, at some point there are some things that you forget you have. It's not
Yeah.
that they're bad. It's just that you keep sampling more. Nowadays, I'm more cautious and I'm buying samples and trying them
Same.
and stuff like that. But yeah, over time, it's just hard to get back to the good ones sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I have a question here by or from Angeli. That's a good question. How was your collaboration with your wife? Did you find it tough to capture someone else's vision? That's a really good question.
Yes. It was really hard because like my way of creating, or at least my taste, tends to go on the darker side. So everything I do tends to go that way.
Yeah.
And with feedback, I tend to kind of correct it a little bit so I'm not in my own bubble over there when I'm trying to release something that I want people to enjoy and stuff like that. But collaborating with her was really hard. And for people that have tried my first line, besides the quintessence line, which is more functional and an easy to wear, Monoasis and then Nectar Boise, this one is kind of different is very different from my style. So
Okay.
I had a hard time sticking to the brief that my wife gave me.
Right.
Every time I would do it, I was like, "Oh no, it needs something dark," and I would try to go there. She was like, "Nope." Like, she would just dismiss it, and I'll go back again to a drawing board, and I think I heard what she said, and then I'll add something again, and she's like, "No, that's not what I asked." So I went through I was stubborn at the beginning, right? Thinking that I can add a spin that she will appreciate. And she was like, no, it's not capturing the image. Just stick to whatever
Yeah.
we
But
discussed. So after several iterations, I kind of, okay, it's like, that's her perfume. I'm just going to produce something that she wants and
mhm.
go from there. So it was really tough because the notes that she chose were not things that I was familiar with.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I never thought of it that way. When you're collaborating with someone else and you are the person actually making the product, I mean, you have your own style, your own ideas, but
Yeah.
sometimes you have to try and separate your ideas and
Yeah.
focus on the person that, you're collaborating with. So I can imagine how difficult that could be, how
Yeah.
challenging that could be for you, especially since you've been working, I guess your fragrances are your work.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
whew, I can
Exactly.
imagine
Yeah, it's a
stressful that
lot
can
harder
be.
because then you're focusing on technical ability versus vision, pairing it to a vision, and somebody's telling you nope.
Right.
So yeah, definitely. Oh, but it was fun though. It was a challenge because I had to learn quickly some of the notes that were required in that fragrance
Mhm.
to use them.
So would you say Makai is like like Makai and Huaka'i are like a
Mhm.
married couple?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
this
So it's
is
like a same journey, same trip,
yeah,
same
just different.
perspective.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
That's really, I mean, you can kind of, if you sample them, you can definitely feel that. It's quite obvious.
So thanks.
The Huaka'i is much darker. I felt like a day and night type fragrance to
Yeah,
me. So I
yeah,
understand
yeah, yeah.
it. Like one for the day and then one for the night.
Yeah.
Okay, so kind of not related to your brand, but I always like to ask perfumers, like when I join lives, like other people's lives who are interviewing perfumers, I always like to ask, is there a fragrance brand that you take inspiration from, or a specific perfumer that you really, really adore, or you really do appreciate their work?
Yes, there are a couple that
Okay.
I admire. I admire their work and how they go about making fragrances or how they manage the brand. So it's a split. So artisanal, I would say people like Russian Adam, the way he was able to build his brand and then stick to that core niche and then bring innovation within that and then quality ingredient. And then year after year, I would say, regardless of taste, I think he's been improving.
Okay.
He's been, at least for me, the way I've been perceiving each releases, they're better and better. So for me, it's the gradual progression and then growing as a person. And then for somebody who's transitioning from making attars to making fragrances, single compound to single note attars to complex perfume is quite a leap there, and they did it beautifully. And I have a lot of his fragrances, learning from them and stuff like that.
That's really cool.
And the tower is another one. I mean, self-taught
Yeah.
and is all the way there. I love following him on Instagram and then seeing his not his process, but how he enjoys the journey.
Yeah.
I wasn't there really when he was growing and then evolving to the point where he is now. But smelling his fragrances, you can tell,
Okay. Yeah.
and then you can tell why he's popular and then why people appreciate his work.
Yeah. I love Andy Towers. I was actually wearing Vanilla Flash earlier today.
Yeah, I saw how there was Sue.
Yeah.
Uh,
Very, very beautiful fragrance.
um, who else? Oh, the House of Dissel, which is Japanese.
Oh, cool.
It's more on the minimalist, like as they have a minimal approach. Again, culture driven there.
Hmm.
How they create the fragrances, they come out really simple, but there's because of the natural ingredient that they use in there. There's some layer of complexity in it, but it comes off really easy to digest.
Yeah. Okay.
Natural is the simplicity that he's able to pull off and make it beautiful at the same time or interesting that I'm still baffled by. And I
Yeah.
do have a lot of their fragrances. When I wear them a lot when I know it's gonna be a busy day or week. That's what I wear because I don't want to be distracted, but at the same time, I can get whiff that are really simple, easy to digest,
Right.
and distracting. So I would say those houses. East USAC is another house, but they're really edgy.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't recommend anybody to blind buy their stuff. They're really out there. And if you go to their website, you will see why.
Okay. I'll
Yeah,
have to check them out then.
yeah, yeah.
I like fragrance houses that take the risk and that are quite avant-garde.
Yeah, they're
They're,
quite
they're,
out
they're
there.
fun. They're fun
Yep,
to
yep.
explore, fun to experience. So that's cool. Maite said, where did she,
So
Maite's
my
here.
thing
Hi,
is,
Maite. Welcome. She said something where I'm looking for the comment. Yes, Mon Oasis top 5 for life.
oh wow, thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I can't wait
sorry,
to
you
try
are
it.
so honored.
I don't know if Gino is here, but he also suggested that I try Mon Oasis. So I'm
Oh, Gino, yeah, great
yeah,
guy.
I don't know if he's
Really
here.
creative.
Oh, speaking of Gino, I hope he's still. I don't know if he's still here, but oh my God,
You need to have him on.
yeah, what you guys did, what he did for your release. I don't know if you guys have seen, but he did this visual art basically to represent each of the two fragrances of the recent release for Motif Olfactif. Oh my God, it was so beautiful. And I remember he would do Instagram lives of him like cutting out the little
Yeah,
pieces, and just the amount of work and dedication
that he puts in
that he
it.
put into it is just incredible.
Yeah, he's really creative. You give him something plain. And so essentially, I just talked to him about the idea, sent them pictures and then little videos of like things that I was able to capture there. And he
Yeah.
just brainstormed that. We talked a couple more times and then he came up with that.
Oh,
Um, and yeah,
that is
he's,
talent. That's talent. I
he's
wish I could be that creative. That's really cool. I love that. Let's
yeah.
see if we have any other questions here. Okay, so Mighty Strong also asked, so do you have a YouTube channel? Because it seems um be as if you can teach us how to make perfumes. So we can all become perfumers by watching.
Hey, yo. Yeah, I do have a YouTube channel, although I don't post that often. I need to
Yeah.
get back to that between work, the ketos, and now this is kind of hard. But I'm trying to find a stride where I can fit in time to actually start reviewing. Because there are like I've probably reviewed only maybe 20% of my collection so far. There,
Wow.
yeah, another 80% that I need to review. So I need to go through those, share. But then I started doing something on notes. So I did a video on osmanthus,
Okay.
explaining osmanthus absolute, explaining um, where it's from, how it is extracted, difference between the absolute and then the actual flower. Because sometimes people think when you start blending, you think that, oh, you buy the absolute and it's going to smell like the flower. It's not
Right.
the case.
Uh, okay.
Yeah, it takes a lot of skill to be able to reconstruct a flower that smell like in a living environment.
Mm.
So yeah, so I went through that, and then I shared a couple of fragrances that had the osmanthus note as an
Okay.
example of how it is used. So I'm thinking I might be able to do some of those series where I'm talking single notes, and people can it'd be fun for people to actually go in and see, oh, okay, I have this fragrance. Is listed here. Is this something that I'm getting? How is it used
Mhm.
there, and things like that. And then yeah, I will have to put something that is more structured, maybe
Okay.
on fragrance 101 and how to get started and things like that. And then get feedback from other people that are a little bit more experienced, so I'm having the full picture.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
I like that idea of focusing on a single note because, like I said, we're all fragrance enthusiasts, or a lot of us here are. But when it comes to putting things together, like you said, just because you have this osmanthus absolute doesn't mean you just put it in and it's going to smell like it.
Like
There's a lot of,
osmanthus.
yeah,
Yeah,
a
yeah,
lot
yeah.
more that goes into it. So I think that'll be really cool.
Yeah.
Barry from Centralize is here. Thank you for coming or
Hey.
for showing up. Barry is based in the UK. So that kind of leads up to my next question. I
Yeah.
know currently you only ship to the US and Canada. Do you
Yeah.
have any plans in the future to either ship internationally or maybe have an international stockist for our guys across the pond and everywhere else?
Yeah. So I've been thinking about it since day one. It's just been a hassle finding a good carrier. So I was with DHL. They got me a good rate, and I opened shipping. And at some point, with COVID hitting, I'm not sure if some of the laws changed or regulations changed.
Okay.
Some people started ordering, and then they got hit with really high
Custom
duties or
charges.
taxes. I
Hmm.
mean, like pretty high. I have, for example, a guy who ordered from Italy the vetiver fragrance, and then that was $95. Uh,
Yeah.
and then shipping wasn't that expensive, but they were asking him to pay over $50 to get his package.
Yeah.
That's like more than half of
Oh,
what a fragrance costs. So that
exactly.
didn't make sense. And then recently, there are a couple people in the UK, and then I think it's Paris too. Like they got a huge bill too. So
Yeah.
like, that's what I'm trying. I'm trying to figure out a way to do shipping so that people are not surprised by the charges. I
Yeah.
think the best way would be to find a stockist. Um,
Yeah.
Earlier, I had somebody from a store from Australia who's willing to stock me, but I ran out. So now I
Okay.
have to wait, and I have to contact them back and then see if they can carry that. That would be Australia, and I'll see if I can find a stockist in Europe and
Yeah.
um, the UK. It's just that shipping is just it's
That's the most
ridiculous.
part. Yeah.
As a fragrance enthusiast and somebody who's been buying fragrances, it will pain me to to have somebody pay $50 or $30
Yeah.
to get something and then be charged another $30, $60 to get a single fragrance is just too much.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
why I'm hesitant. For samples though, is easy. It's about
Okay.
$13 to ship, uh,
Okay.
and
Okay.
then so that's not that bad internationally. It's just the packages that it gets too expensive.
I
I'm in
see.
talks with UPS to see if they can reduce the charges, and then have more information about the duties, so I can take that into account to some degree before I open it up to international.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I hope that's soon because I know a lot of
Hope
people.
so.
I have a really good friend. I don't know if he's in here today, but he usually tries to make the lives. He's based in Ireland,
Oh yeah.
and he really wants to, try a lot of these smaller American indie brands.
Yeah.
But it's the shipping that just makes it almost impossible. And the same for me when I was based out there. There's so many brands that I wanted to try,
Mm-hmm.
but I couldn't. I had to wait until I got into the States, and as soon as I got here, I just like started ordering discovery sets, here and
Yeah.
there. So yeah, hopefully that'll be soon.
Soon,
Um,
yeah. I'm working on it. So.
yeah. Okay, so any questions, guys? I think I have one more question, and then if I think I saw someone have a question earlier, but I can't see it. So if you have a question and maybe you typed it earlier and I haven't brought it up, go ahead and retype it for me again,
I think
please.
I see a question about if I could suggest a beginners perfumers.
Yes, I think that's the one
Or
from Pam.
Yeah. So I would say, from my perspective, the kits are helpful, but I find them a bit limiting. So what I like to do is, at the beginning, at least, what I would say is, if you go to perfumer supply house, just pick a couple of notes that you're curious about. That will make it a lot more interesting. When you pick a kit, you have things that are chosen for you that you might not be excited about. You might already know what tonka smells like, what vanilla smells like. You have spices on your cupboard that kind of approximate what the essential oil will smell like, but I want to know, what does osmanthus absolute smell like. So I would use that money to buy specific ingredients that you're really curious about, or you're not familiar about, or you're excited about. That will help you keep doing that. So if you use places like Perfumers Supply House, I think you spend up to, is it $50? Then you get 5 free samples. Eden Botanical, I think every $20 you get a free sample.
Okay.
So $50 you can get a lot of materials in smaller quantities. Take advantage of the extra 5 free samples, and then build your little collection that way. And then by focusing on things that you're really interested in, again, it just keeps that interest going versus receiving something, half of it you kind of knew already what they smell like, and it's not that exciting. So I would say, if you can handpick what you're interested in, that's more fun. And then go for the smaller sizes and take advantage of the free sample program.
Okay. Right. Okay, okay. I think I'm going to be doing that soon. But I think, okay, so I found her question, Pam. I think she wants to know a recommendation for a newbie, to try in your line, a specific fragrance, I guess, I think is what she's asking. For
Okay.
me, I usually always recommend trying discovery sets.
Yeah.
Because I mean, also part of trying discovery sets that I've learned recently is that you get to kind of open yourself to fragrances that you may not have been interested in just by looking at the notes. For example, I tried Trad's discovery set.
Mhm.
I'm not really a huge fan of heavy aldehydic fragrances, but I tried it blind, one of his fragrances, which is Night Tide, and I loved it. I loved it so much. And if I were to, let's say, blind buy some of his fragrances and I saw those notes, I would have been like, no, no thanks.
Yeah, yeah.
Therefore, limiting myself and not really growing my palette or developing my palette.
Correct.
So, Pam, if you're interested in trying any fragrances from Motif Olfactif, I highly suggest getting a discovery set,
That was
which will be available. The full collection will be available in November.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the best way to go, because tastes differ greatly. You don't want to be stuck with something that you don't like.
Yeah.
And it's a lot more fun to just experience it and then take your time and then decide, okay, this is what I want to spend my money on.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Okay, so I think we're going to wrap this up with one last question that I have. I just have here, any new releases planned for the end of the year or in 2021?
Um, so I have one fragrance that I got feedback on already. A couple of people told me to not touch it anymore.
Wow, okay.
Not change it. Yeah. My wife told me that, but I take her advice with a grain of salt. I, I hope she's not around. But I usually get feedback from people that are like know what they're doing, right? And then people that are not in the fragrance community to kind of see their reaction, so I can have a well-rounded feedback.
Right.
So that one is ready, and but then it will need to sit for a while. I've not done the formula is ready, but I've not made it concentrate and diluted and then let it macerate and mature yet. So that one I'm thinking late next year.
Okay.
And then I'm debating between two fragrances. I wanted to do like a really oud forward fragrance, which is my style. It's going to be quite animalic, and then like it's going to be full front oud.
I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, and animalic. So that I'm trying to do that, and then there's another one that is the one that I'm wearing today, which is tuberose, leather, and animalics. There are some subtle florals in it. That one is just a first iteration, so it's not ready yet. I'll have to go back and then I'll wrote some notes throughout the day on things that I didn't like, things that were poking too much, things that are missing, and things like that. Then I'll go back and then readjust it. So it will be between the oud focus one and then the tuberose, leather, and animalic fragrance.
Okay, well, that's exciting. I know a lot of us are excited. If you have some oh yeah, some hard eyes, we're excited for that. Tara says, "Dang, Oz, I hope your wife isn't watching."
I know.
You might be sleeping on the couch tonight.
I know. In the basement.
Oh man. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Oz, for joining. And thank you all for joining us tonight. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you guys were able to, come out here and be interactive. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you for the invitation and for everybody that joined. I see the live is alive and fun. So a lot of discussions going on. So thank you for having me, and thank you for everybody who joined. So
yes, thank you so much. Okay, don't forget to like the video before you leave. And if you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. And then after the video is uploaded into YouTube, I'll also link all of Mr. Oz's information, his Instagram, his YouTube channel, if you're interested in checking that out, and also the Motif Olfactif website. So again, you guys have a good night, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.